It is time for another Bluejay Shakeout podcast. Josh Peterson, Chris Gannon with you as we are now into the month of May, a very busy time. We appreciate everyone joining us as you are on your way in. We would, of course, appreciate a like and a subscribe here as the season comes to a close. Just a few more of these videos left this year, I imagine, before we take a break and then get ready for the fall season. Chris, how are you? Good to chat once again.
Oh, we're doing all right, man. We're optimistic for good weather this week. We had good weather last week, so just a few people competing this week, and then off to Storrs, Connecticut on Tuesday and Wednesday for a Big East next week.
Awesome. Last time we spoke, it was right before a super busy week for you and the team. There was multiple events happening, as we talked about, right near each other, just about a half hour away. How did everything go for you now, as you've had a chance to look back on what happened a couple of weeks ago in Iowa?
It was complete chaos. It was even more so than originally planned. So the weather on Thursday night for Drake was trending downhill quickly. We were supposed to run, I think, around 4 p.m., 5 p.m. that afternoon. We were sitting in the office. Kids were in the training room getting some treatments before we took off. And then all of a sudden we get an email at 11:55 a.m. that all of the events had been bumped by like 2 or 3 hours. Takes us a little over 2 hours to get to Drake from the office, and we had 3 hours at that point in time before our first race. So it was a madhouse scramble, getting everybody into vans, getting to Des Moines as quickly and as safely as we could, abiding by all traffic laws. And then, the crazy thing is that by the time we pulled up to the stadium and everything, Jake had about 40 minutes to warm up before his 1500, which is not much time. He still went out and won the open section of the 15. So 2 years in a row, Jake Relay's open section champion. Annika ran really, really well, won her section as well. And then the last race that night was supposed to be the men's 10K. Noah was geared up, getting ready to run. And just middle of the women's 10K and just before the men's 10K came to the track, they announced that the weather that we were trying to alleviate all afternoon it was bearing down. So they're like, get out of the stadium, no men's 10K. We just grabbed some dinner and head over to south to Indianola, regrouped, and all of the Simpson meet had already been moved. They had already canceled Thursday and pushed it into a Friday meet. So it was a long day Friday on the track there at Indianola. Went pretty well, though. Overall, a pretty good 2 days in the Des Moines metropolitan area.
Yeah. And then the next week you return to Iowa, you go, a little bit further, about twice the distance, all the way to Iowa City. Just given the nature of what you had just been through and all of the changes and long days that you had, was there any concern about the fatigued legs or anything going into Iowa City the following weekend?
I think that the biggest fatigue piece was probably honestly Jake and Annika having raced back-to-back weekends, doubles both weekends, at Wake Forest and then at Drake Simpson. Maybe more fatigue for the coaches. I'm just kidding. But no, it's that part of the year for us is pretty normal for us to be, some back-to-back races and for, a lot of the athletes that aren't moving on to, championship segment, Iowa is the kind of the close of the season for them. So for them to kind of be a little bit fatigued at this point, it's pretty normal. And then you're trying to, make sure you're managing load for your championship caliber, Big East athletes they're heading off to Storrs next week. So a little bit of load management there. But really, it's kind of what you expect this time of year. We should be our fittest. We should be ready to roll. And the biggest thing is you're really, really backing off workouts. It just become the Gannon saying of there's no fitness left to be gained. So there's not much really going on. If you look at mileage or those things that for the last couple of days, last 2 weeks even, it's peeled back quite a bit. So.
Let me ask you, so you said it, for some of your runners, for some of your athletes are getting ready still for the Big East Championship, so it's not going to be the end of the season. But for other athletes, Iowa City is going to be the end of the road. That is, of course, quite different from, you know, a lot of team sports that we're going to see in the NCAA. What are those conversations like for those athletes that it's like, this is your season, this is potentially your career coming to an end? How is that difficult? Is it different? Like, what, take us through the process of the lead up to that for those athletes, given that there are others who will still participate, you know, next weekend.
Yeah, it's a conversation that probably starts pretty general. Our team's pretty aware of it as well. You know, I think it's a pretty normal track conversation. You know, especially for us. You know, this will be our what are we? This will be our 4th Big East championship, I believe. Yeah, coming up. So yeah, you know, it's crazy. So technically 4 years ago, we'd never been to one. And so this is our 4th season. So 3 years ago was our first. Yeah, it's, you know, when you look at the Big East is just so good. And kind of our standard is that we put it out there is if you're good enough to be able to compete for points or you know, have a chance to place, then that's kind of what we're really looking at for what that standard is. And so for some of our younger athletes or even some of our older ones that, you know, maybe haven't been healthy or, you know, haven't quite been that top group, they're very familiar with what those expectations and standards are. I'm sure there's always still a little bit of heartbreak or disappointment that somebody didn't hit a goal or didn't make a Big East roster. And that's part of it. That's part of Division I athletics. I think the hardest part is the senior crew. You know, some of those seniors ran their last race at Iowa, and that's, you know, it's, you know, Fairs and I, you know, a couple of years ago, somebody asked, like, well, what's your favorite class? What's your favorite class? And Fairs quite brilliantly answered, the senior class is the favorite class, and it always will be. And it's not because of anything other than you've spent the most time with them. You know, the relationships you have with those people, you know, go back 4 or 5 years. And that's the special part of coaching. And I think, you know, any coach would tell you that. Coach McDermott would tell you that. Flan, Booth, Brian Rosen, you know, you go down the list. It's, you know, we're absolutely in coaching for the competitiveness and trying to, you know, win games or set records or, you know, qualify for nationals or win meets or set PRs and do those things on the track. But, you know, there's a lot of things changing in college athletics right now at a very fast pace. But the root of college athletics, especially I think within our sport and especially at Creighton, it's about the people. And that's the best part about it. And, you know, we look at people that are leaving here and graduating from here and going on to bigger and better things and pursuing dreams and goals. And, you know, I'm proud of them. And then, you know, they keep in touch. And, you know, we had a guy that got married just a couple weeks ago, and, you know, half the wedding people are people that were on the team, you know, 4 years ago. And it's pretty cool. But it's awesome to see them go out and crush dreams and smash goals, you know, beyond running. And yeah, telling those kids goodbye at the end of that meet it's always hard. And I personally try to make sure I'm there when they step off the track the last time and give them a hug. And, you know, those are typically tears at least one way, if not two ways. You know, nobody knows I'm always wearing sunglasses. So
has to be quite the emotional experience. And that aside, it seems like it was a really good meet for a lot of the athletes on your crew.
Yeah, it's we love that meet. It's a good track. It's a good setup. The weather was perfect, you know, so a lot of good PRs, season best. You know, set a lot of people up for where we want to be next week, heading into the Big East meet, as well as, you know, for some of those people just finishing out their season in a high note. You know, and the week before, you know, the distance carnival at Simpson, same thing. It was incredible. They've done, I mentioned it, you know, the last time on the pod, the job that Heath and the crew at Simpson have done just to elevate that meet. They had pacing lights and everything this year, which was just another level up that they continue to elevate that meet. And we had, gosh, I don't know how many kids set PRs that night at Simpson. The weather was perfect. It was awesome. The music was bumping. Pacing lights were going. It's just such a cool environment. And, you know, that's the really fun part about this sport is seeing someone's, you know, 6 or 8 or 9 months or 12 months worth of work come into a moment and see them set a PR, whether it's by a second or a tenth of a second or 30 seconds, and seeing just that accomplishment, you know, written on their face, and them knowing and their teammates knowing and everybody knowing like what that moment has meant and all the work that's gone into it. That's really cool. And you know that as a runner, like what that means to, qualify for Boston or to break that 3-hour barrier, whatever that is. And that's something that is just so unique to the sport of running, or sprinting or jumping or throwing the disc. It doesn't matter pole vault. Like it's just so unique to it. Like, I mean, you could make a free throw, but it's the same free throw every time, And I think that's the cool thing about the sport. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. So what does this week look like as you get ready? We're recording this in the midweek. It's Wednesday, May the 6th. So we are now 8 days away from the Big East Outdoor Championships in stores taking place. What does this week look like, and then the early part of next week before you make that trip to East? As you've said now the last couple of podcasts, like that fitness, you are where you are at this point in the season.
Yeah, no fitness left to be gained. So 5K crew, 10K crew, steeple crew, and long hurdle crew. We actually had a really light, short, brief workout Monday morning. Today was pretty recovery based. No, I'm completely off. The meet was on Saturday. We did that Tuesday morning. So Monday was a full recovery day because based on long travel. So Tuesday, pretty basic recovery day for them. Tomorrow, the distance events at Big East are all in the evening, so our athletes will all move to a short evening tempo tomorrow night. Our hurdle crew will get a light workout in tomorrow afternoon. Friday, not much. Same thing over the weekend. There's not a whole lot. And then the 10K crew will leave on Tuesday morning, and everybody else will leave on Wednesday. So we have Trinity is going to jump at Nebraska on Friday in the long jump Friday afternoon, and Sofa is going to throw jav Friday afternoon over at Lincoln as well. But those are only two people competing this week. Just trying to get a little fine tuning, a few additional opportunities for those two ladies. But yeah, everybody else is in a pretty good place. Fairs take a little bit different approach. He let their kids sleep in on Monday and Tuesday both, let them have our super light day today. And then his group, mid-distance group, 800, 1,500 people, they're actually going to jump on the track for a little bit of fine-tuning, sharpening workout tomorrow morning. And then, they'll be Friday, Saturday, pretty light, similar. And then that group will leave on Wednesday.
We've talked over the last few months about these various meets, and like this isn't the A race, this isn't the one that we're focused on. This is the part of the season, right? That everything is being built for is next week. So what's it like to finally get to this part of the year? I have to imagine it's there's that anticipation, there's excitement, there's the mental game of what's going on with my legs as I'm not running as much or doing whatever. Yeah. It has to be quite the time for everybody.
Yeah, it is. This week is pretty chill. The kids have finals this week, so having a lighter volume, lighter load, less practice stress is probably pretty good. We'll get heat sheets on Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, maybe. That's kind of the big thing. Like right until now, it's you're trusting your own fitness and you're just knowing where you're at. And then once those heat sheets come out, fairs will, honest to God, have 80 tabs open. And looking at different things. The nice thing is we do have TFERS, which is, a track and field reporting site that every performance will be in. So we'll have a pretty good idea. And we're familiar with the Big East too. We know who the heavy hitters are, but just trying to get an idea of what might strategically happen in a race, and how that sets up and how that impacts how we play. We made the decision on the men's side that we're going to actually run 3 guys in the 10K. We've never done that before. A few other things that Fairs is trying to work through on how he's going to race his mid-distance crew and the relays and the open events. But, part of it is a little bit of gamesmanship, and you're trying to guess what other teams are going to do and how that impacts your opportunity to score points. And part of it is also just recognizing how good the Big East is. I made a table a couple years ago after the Big East and charted the top 3 performances in the Big East versus everybody else in the country. And in every single event, other than the men's steeplechase, the Big East had the first or second fastest time in the country to place. The only event we didn't was men's steeple because Big East was very strategic. And then the guy who won the steeple in the Big East actually went on to win the national championship from Georgetown. So it tells you just how good the Big East is. We're just, get our get our shoes laced up and be ready to go fight it out for what we can, represent as a Blue Jay.
Awesome. Well, can't wait to talk about it in a couple of weeks as we'll recap everything. Quite the time as we've been peeking ahead to this time of year throughout many of these conversations, and it's very exciting to finally get here. Another edition of the Bluejay Shakeout podcast in the books. Josh Peterson and Chris Gannon with you again. As always, we would love a like and a subscribe as you say goodbye. Share it with those who might find these conversations interesting, like we do each and every time that we get together. Chris, good luck with everything. Safe travels next week as you make your way east. And happy running, happy athleting to everybody on your team. It's a fun time of year.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Josh. Have a good one.
All right. We'll talk to everybody next time. Thanks for watching.